1, 2, 3, 4.
Good morning. Hi, everyone. This is Jewish Talk coming to you live from NASA Community College on 90.3 WHPC. Also streaming on the iHeart and the iTunes app. We can be seen here in the studios on my Facebook Live page. Good morning, everyone, and the great Facebook of WHPC. This program is later archived for those who may miss it. You can listen to it again on Spreaker.com. So hi there, my name is Rabbi Pearl. A little tired this morning. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This all depends on when you're listening or watching. Of course, tomorrow evening ushers in the great holiday of Purim, and I'd like to make this great invitation to everybody out there to join us on Monday evening for the reading of the Megillah at 7:30 p.m. and again on Tuesday morning to hear the Megillah. Very, very important to hear the Megillah on the holiday of Purim, both by day and by night. And everyone is welcome to join us at our synagogue in Mineola. I'd like to first speak about the importance of our individuality and conformity. How do we balance that between being an individualist at the same time conforming, and the importance and the strengths of both? And, of course, a little of my complaint, of course, this morning is the loss of that hour, and how killing a time seems to be something that we all have to deal with. What are we doing with the time given to us? So, good morning, everybody. Again, welcome to all those listening to us, and a big shout-out and a big wave, my friends, to all those who've joined us on Facebook, to Doug, to Dr. Kilshevsky, Jonathan Wolf, to Harvey Kipnis, to Joel Harris, to Robert Rosenthal. Good morning, Judge. To Patty Fuchs, good morning to you, and to all your friends out there in the great county of Queens. Let's be honest, each of us are an individual. We each have our own personalities, our own genes, and our own histories. We each have our own minds, emotions, and natures. We each have our own ways of being and of experiencing the world. Most important, we each have our own souls, and we're free to form our own educated opinions. Discovering and expressing who we are as individuals is part of what God wants from us. Good morning, Jean. But what does it mean to be an individual? Let me tell you something. You know, the idea of being just like everybody else is not exactly the point. No matter how identical people may appear, deep down, really everyone is an individual. Because there are no clones in God's world. It's just that some people's uniqueness is more obvious than others. Second, true individuality doesn't mean standing out externally. It means being who you are internally. Looking or dressing differently can never define your individuality. It can only reflect it. The sages teach us that when the Torah was given, Moses told each person exactly where to stand in order to witness the event from a unique distance and angle. Every individual experienced revelation differently, emerging with his or her own personal knowledge of God. Our unique connection to God is the basis of our individuality, including the uniqueness of our own soul, the spark of God within us that wants to shine goodness out into the world. And I really want to say, before I get into my pet peeve of the losing of an hour of sleep, and if I fall asleep during this program, please wake me up. I also want to recognize it seems that Dr. Kilshevsky lives in a very, very religious community, and he got up much earlier, an hour earlier, to be able to study Torah. So more power to you. I guess you'll be experiencing Purim in a much more deeper way. Recognizing our individuality means realizing that we have a unique mission to accomplish. So remember that, dear friends. If we consider ourselves an individualist, means there's something individually important about your mission to this world. Simply copying what everybody else does around us is not unique to us, unless you feel you're just part of a crowd and have nothing to add to this world. So it's important, if you really feel that you are an individualist, that you recognize with your individualists aspects comes a unique mission that you yourself are here to impact the world with. This, of course, requires knowing who we are and who we can be. Some of us realize this when we're still in school, while others discover it only after being out in the world for many years. They realize, hey, what am I contributing? We discussed this in our synagogue on Shabbos. Clearly, there are many things that we are happy to be with. We found a particular job, a particular vocation, a particular profession that we're good at. But that doesn't mean that's what we're here for. That's good. That provides us with an income, provides us with with our daily work. But at the end of the day, as the Baal Shem Tov tells us, he says that he had this fantastic insight. He said a person may live for 70 or 80 years. And the key reason why he or she may be here is to help someone out. That means you have a boat, you have a home, you have money in the bank, and you have a consistency about your life. And that may not really be the whole reason why you're here. That's good to have, and we ask Hashem every day to give us good health and to be able to do all the good things. But that key may not be the individual mission of what you're here for. That only provides us with a vehicle. But if something extraordinary comes to our way, that may well be what you're here for. And in the words of the Baal Shem Tov, clearly it's about helping somebody else. Exposing ourselves to a variety of experiences, including study, work, travel, and more, in different places and with different people, can open up the door to increasing self-knowledge. I enjoy traveling when it was safe, because when you move out of your typical environment that you are every day and all throughout the year, you get to see how other people are. You see other ideas. You see how other things are expressed. And when you do that properly, you actually find something special within yourself that you can impact the world with. But by learning and opening yourself up to others. But at the end of the day, it's about what you are and what your individual goal is all about. But at some point in our lives, nearly all of us have an experience in which we realize this is me. This is what I'm meant to do. Suddenly, we have a vision of a great individual we can become. Great needn't mean achieving something extraordinary. There are quite kinds of greatness which may go unnoticed by humans, but not by God. God knows exactly what our individual strengths are and is extraordinarily happy when we recognize what our individual goal is. So again, to emphasize this point, underscore this point, our individual goal is not to be like everybody else, because God doesn't make clones. Each of us have a unique purpose to impact the world with. We must be open to the moment that we see the greatness each of us are destined for, and then make it happen. At the same time, life doesn't entail it does. You have to, let's be honest, a certain amount of conformity, especially during these rather difficult times. We all have to be careful about our health and the way we go about hygiene and how we are careful, because each of us can impact each other. Therefore, as we all know, as you know what I'm talking about, the truth is there has to be a certain level of conformity to serve this purpose. If everybody does what they want because they think who they are, then we're all in danger. So true self-actualization requires that we be not only individuals with our own goals, but also part of a larger group with a larger mission. So conformity strengthens that group identity. It gives us a greater sense of belonging and connection to our community. It keeps us aligned with the people we respect and the values that we believe in. That's an important part of coming to the synagogue, for example, coming to shul and changing our plans on Monday night and identifying and being part of the experience of what Purim represents. That is an extraordinary, you could say, litmus test on the purpose. Do we shun the importance of the holiday as an example? Do we just go about our own business and make out that it's not there? Or do we really make an effort to join the community and recognize that strength? And as I say, because when we align ourselves with people that we respect, then the values, we actually help ourselves become better than within ourselves. Many Jewish practices create precisely this type of constructive conformity. Let's take the Sabbath, for example. Everybody's home conforms to a special aura. Every Friday night before sunset, we put on our special clothes, we light Shabbos candles, then we cease all kinds of creative work, we go to the synagogue. What happens when we come home? We recite blessings over the wine and the bread. And I promise you, a home that has these kinds of atmospheres on Friday night is a completely different kind of home all week long. If Friday night looks like Sunday night and Monday night and Tuesday night and Thursday night, then what have we accomplished in life? Returning home, we recite blessings over wine and bread, eat a festive meal, sing traditional songs, speak words of Torah, give thanks for the food that we've enjoyed. So while customs may vary from among Jewish communities, we're all celebrating the same day in the same way, experiencing a beautiful and powerful oneness within each of us. Yet doing the same thing all over the world at the same time doesn't mean we surrender our individuality. There are no laws governing what clothes we wear on Shabbos, as long as, of course, they're modest and what we consider to be nice. What food we eat, as long as it's kosher, or what melodies we sing. This freedom suggests that God wants each of us to celebrate Shabbos in our own way. And that makes our world so colorful. For example, I remember thinking back of my own home when I grew up, how the Shabbos table was then, and how it's impacted my life throughout all these many years, Baruch Hashem, and many years to come, all of us together. So there are all kinds of, the way people come to dress, from different kinds of communities, the kinds of cuisine, the stirring melodies of Kiddush. This one says Kiddush this way, this one says Kiddush that way, but it's the same words. So as you all know, I love meeting people who are out of the box. I always try to think out of the box. So despite being different, these individuals believe in themselves as well. They trust in the inner voice telling them how to live. As a result, they experience the profound satisfaction of being true to who they are. They demonstrate how to be yourself, how richly rewarding that is. That's the message that all of us, including those of us whose individuality is more subtle, we need to take home. There's a very famous Hasidic story that we often heard as I grew up about this beloved Hasidic personality. His name was Reb Zusha of Anapali. Reb Zusha. And he famously said, in the next world, I won't be asked, why weren't you Moses? No one's going to ask us, why weren't we Moses? Why weren't we any other famous leader? The question we're asked is, why weren't you Zusha? Because each one of us have something individual to impact the world with. And we don't impact the world by just the jobs that we do. Purely, of course, we need blessings of all that sense for Parnasa and all the good things, but at the end of the day, we all have to impact the world from our individual perspective and our individual strengths. Otherwise, we're just a bunch of clones. And that's not the way God wants this world. So in the future, when we look back at our lives, let's all be able to say, I was myself. Let's say hello again to everybody. Gene, thank you so much for joining us, and everybody listening. And my pet peeve this morning is, as my eyeballs start to drop, if you didn't notice this, and daylight savings time started last night. And most people that I know just want to stop changing their clocks. America has once again approached one of its most contentious hours, and officially, it's one that doesn't exist. Of course, I'm talking about the daylight savings times, which began officially at 2 a.m. last night. Or was it 3 a.m.? I don't know. On this issue, America is pretty divided. Either way, we've lost the precious weekend hour. In exchange, millions more folks get to eat their dinners before dark. I guess what, my friends? According to the National Conference of State Legislators, lawmakers in 32 states, you're going to find out why you got up this morning to listen to me. 32 states are considering bills that would change the current system of splitting the year into about 8 months of daylight time and the rest standard. It's a hot issue It's even getting hotter. Every year, more state lawmakers are considering changing the system. The preponderance are pushing for a year-round daylight time, although Congress has forbidden states from doing so. Pennsylvania, listen to this. If you live in Pennsylvania, they have 4 different proposed time change bills, and 3 of those essentially endorse the year-round daylight time. Yet, if the issue were put to a national primary, all standard, all the time, would win decisively. That's according to a poll conducted last year. So more than 70% of those surveyed said, please, enough. As Kim said to me this morning, enough with these changes. Stop the changes now, period. The nation did try this. I don't know if you know this. Dr. Kildare told me that the nation did try this out back in 1974 during the energy crisis brought on by the oil shortage. It was not well received. It went into effect January 3rd, and a whole lot of folks didn't like the idea of sun rising over what they used to be their coffee break time. So by the end of the month, the national school boards called for an immediate cease and desist order. Why? Because school buses were taking kids to school in the dark. Florida state officials blamed actually morning darkness for 8 deaths. So on September the 30th, you'll be happy to know, Congress decreed an end, and the clocks went back on October 27, 1974. Amachaya. Now you know why you woke up to listen to this. So according to the Congressional Research Service, this daylight savings time began in Germany on May 1st, 1916, as a war conservation measure. The idea caught on across the continent and eventually landed here in the United States in 1980. Glück ist bei uns getroffen. I'm so happy to tell you this information. So the DST, the Daylight Savings Time, critics have pointed to studies pointing to the possible connection to an increase in heart disease when the clocks go up, and the impacts of disrupting body rhythms resulting from disrupted sleep patterns. Unbelievable. I actually believe that most of my members of my shul, it's left over with them all year round, because when I start to speak on the Sermon on Shabbos, everybody promptly goes to sleep. So I think I'm not blaming my members, I'm blaming the DSD. This is a disaster. Proponents say later sunsets means more vitamin D and more opportunities to enjoy the later twilights. All that said, we're confident that the clock change will not be particularly popular tomorrow morning, on Monday morning, or even coming here this morning. So, a little bit continuing on this same subject, but let me just say hello now to Oiza Dalim. Oiza Klein, thank you so much, who listens to us all the way from Aveliansborg, and how important it is for us to focus on our time. You see, while money is a tremendous commodity, time is an even more precious commodity that we waste all too often. So when it comes to money, if we run low, there are ways in which we can try to replenish. If we work harder, maybe we can always earn a little bit more, and therefore have more money to spend. But when it comes to time, there's nothing we can do to earn more. If it's wasted, like I know, if you're on the radio, every minute counts, right? You got to start on time, you got to finish on time, and every moment counts. If it's wasted, it can't be made up. There's a limited amount of time allocated each one of us. And with every passing second, we come closer to emptying our account. There's a famous story of a man who went to an inn way back in Europe, and the entire night he danced in his bedroom in one of these old little inns in Russia. In the morning, he went over to the housekeeper. He said, "Who gave you this clock?" He said, "What do you mean? It's one of these clocks. I put it in there." And he says, "Well," but he asked him. He said, "Why were you dancing the whole night?" He said, "Because of the clock." Well, He said, tell me, who gave you this clock? Turns out the clock, through some sort of a sale, had actually belonged to a very great holy man. And this person, the guest, could sense it once belonged to this holy person. What did he dance for? He says, you see, most clocks, as you watch them moving forward, is one moment closer to the grave. But for this great rabbi, his clock indicated. He felt the closeness of, as it moved forward, it was closer to the coming of Mashiach. This person was on that sensitive level, so he danced the whole night because he could sense that this particular clock, as it moved forward, wasn't closer to some ending, but to some great beginning. May Hashem bless us that we've moved our clock closer, 1 hour closer. It should be 1 hour closer to getting rid of this virus and with the coming of Mashiach very speedily. Despite its preciousness, we tend to bring a casual attitude towards time, wasting it. And sometimes we even, what do we say? Yeah, I call a person, what are you doing? I'm killing time. What do you mean you're killing time? Let me call the police. Now, in the Urban Dictionary, a website dedicated to cataloging modern phrases defines the following word. I found it fascinating, how they describe Jewish time. You ever heard what Jewish time is all about? Not perfectly on time. Possibly somewhat late, but no harm is done as a result. The implication is that there is no need to be exactly on time, and starting a little late is acceptable, as we all know what the term Hasidic time is all about. You ever gone to a Jewish wedding of those who from Persia? If it says 7:30 on the invitation, you don't show up until about 10:30. There's always this ongoing joke about if you really want, if it's a Persian Jewish family and they want to get everybody to start on time, and you want the wedding at 7:30, you tell everybody it's taking place at 3:30 in the afternoon, and hopefully everybody will be there by 7:30. That's Jewish time. When an event is scheduled to take place at 2 Jewish time, we say it's ish, 2-ish. It's 2:15, it could be 2:35, and everybody's happy. The wedding will start at 6 p.m. Jewish time. This is in honor of Oizer Klein, who knows Yiddish very well. It says the davening will be B'diuk at 6 p.m. What's B'diuk stand for? Biz the Yidden Wellen Kimmen. I mean, till we get Dominion, then we'll start. Of all people, we have an acute time awareness and profound appreciation for the value of time. For example, in my synagogue, we announce the time of the Shema. What's the latest time to say the Shema in the morning? We announce the time when Shabbos ends. We announce the time when the candles are lit. Time is a very important thing in the Jewish world. Indeed, the very first mitzvah of the Torah, the first commandment that we received as a people was the value of time. What did God say to Moshe? This month shall be for you the beginning of the months. Being free now, right? A slave has no control over its time. He's told what to do anytime the master wants. So the first mitzvah given to us when we experienced freedom was to calculate our time based on the movement of the moon. With this commandment came the privilege and responsibility to control the Jewish calendar through the testimony of new moon and determination of the human court of when the month begins and consequently when our holidays fall. So for 210 years as slaves in Egypt, our people had no control over their own time or their own destiny. The taskmasters and the oppressors determined how we spent every single moment. It's specifically at that point when we're on the cusp of attaining that freedom, and of course coming up, the holiday of Pesach as well, we were given the commandment about time. At the core of freedom is the ability to be the arbitrator and the determination of our own time. Freedom and time are intertwined. So I'm so happy and appreciative of everybody. Despite losing an hour, you joined us this morning, both on the radio here, WHPC, and on Facebook. Time awareness is at the core of our humanity and is a responsibility of freedom. If we are free to come and go, to use our time properly. Being relaxed about punctuality, running late, and having a casual attitude towards times is really not Jewish time. It's the antithesis of what the notion of time. Wasting time is tantamount to burning money, and killing time murders possibility and the potential. I also believe that being late for an appointment is self-centered. In a fantastic article in Forbes, they had the article, and I shared with you some of the details. 5 minutes early is on time is late, and late is unacceptable. The writer, Brent Bishaw, shows how disrespectful, inefficient, and self-centered it is to run late. Right, when a person has to show up at work, they show up at 9 o'clock. Ask them to come to shul on time, me schlepp sich azoi, me kimt sich herein, 11 o'clock, 11:30, you do you a favor, then you have the JFK, those are just for the Kiddush. And he writes, first of all, it's disrespectful. Being on time is about respect. It signals that you value and appreciate the other person. If you don't respect the meeting's participants, why are you meeting with them in the first place? Big timing. Intentionally being late is about power. I want to show I'm in charge. It's showing the other person or the people that you're a big deal and have the upper hand in the relationship. Another idea. Incredible. No, it's not the good way. When you miss meeting times or deadlines, your credibility takes the lead of falls like a lead balloon. If you can't be counted on to be on time, how could you possibly have credibility around far tougher tasks? Let's consider a scenario when 5 people are holding a meeting at 2 p.m. You walk in as though you saunter in there and 10 minutes late. You've just wasted 40 minutes of other people's time. Because you walked in there late, 10 minutes late. You wasted these people's time. So let's say the organizational bill bills $200 an hour. The people I know, they bill at $500 plus an hour. But I'm being nice today. The organization bills is $200 an hour. And you walk in there 10 minutes late. Are you willing to pay the $133 bill? Someone certainly is going to be paying for that. If you can't keep your calendar, what other parts of your life are you teetering on the edge of complete disaster? Being late signals at best that you're barely hanging on and probably not someone I want to associate with. Apparently some people just flake out, which seems to mean that they arbitrarily decided not to do the things they're committed to till the last minute. That's ridiculous. Well, most grow out of this by the age of 8. Some genuinely believe that they're at the center of the universe, and they just walk in. Who cares about time? Someone else's time. It's not attractive, my friends. So the writer concludes, paying attention to punctuality is not about being judgy or stress. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It makes room for caring, considerate, thoughtful people I want in my life, whether that's friends or colleagues. Think of how relaxing your life would be if everyone just did what they said they do, when they said they do it. A good place to start is with oneself. And a great motto is something I was taught as a child. And I repeat it. 5 minutes early is on time. On time is late. Late is unacceptable. So, my friends, of course, being late will happen. We run into emergencies, unexpected, uncontrollable circumstances. But is being late an exception or the rule? Are we ashamed when we are late? And do we apologize and take responsibility? Or have we become so habituated to it? Who cares? So, my friends, as we come to the great holiday of Purim, let us first pray for everybody's protection, speedy recovery, all those who are facing these tough times that we're in right now. Please, let's add an extra prayer for everybody's protection and good health. And this plague, so to speak, should get out of here as fast as it came. And, of course, please join us for Purim on Monday evening to hear the Megillah at 7:30 in the evening, again in the morning at 7:30 a.m. But please, participate. This is a time to be part of the community, to learn from each other, and God will bless us all. This is your host, Rabbi Pearl, wishing everybody a Freilich Purim and all the best to you. Thank you again.